Hey everyone, welcome back to the Guilty as Charged podcast. Today we're going to talk about Justin Herbert's performance versus the Denver Broncos. A day to forget for sure, but let's remember it one more time and figure out what went wrong, but also highlight some things that may have gone right as well. What happened on his dropbacks? I'm joined by a special guest today, someone that you're familiar with their voice, but maybe not their face, since we weren't on YouTube at the time. He's an OG member of the Guilty as Charged crew. It's Jason, hashtag Love It Six, and Keenan Allen's #1 fan. It's been over a year since we last talked. Jason, how are you? And maybe update our viewers and listeners on where you've been the past year or so.
How's it going, everyone? So I have been, I went off the grid, went into the woods and just disappeared in the mountain. No, I'm kidding. I have done a career switch, and so that's why I've been gone for a while. I won't get too much into it, but trying to give back to the Chargers community again one more time, or more often in the future. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, today our goal is just going to be to break down what kind of goes wrong, not just against the Denver Broncos, because it's kind of a recurring theme now in games where the other team is well coached. And so we're going to break down some of these Denver Bronco plays and figure out what's going wrong, how to fix it, and then we're going to look at some things that have gone correctly, have gone well. And so that's kind of the goal here today, is to see what to expect as fans and look at, and that way you guys know, hey, our coaching staff is looking at this, they know what's going on too, and that way you get a little bit of hope in your system, because right now people are already looking to the draft, man. It's insane.
Yeah, a loss on Sunday. We all might be looking forward to the draft, but we'll see. I'm really excited to get into this. Before we start, I just want to say that people, every time we talk about Justin Herbert, everyone wants to assume that we're forgetting about the other things that went wrong. The offensive line, the coaching, the fact that he faced a good defense, all those things we acknowledge. If you want to talk about offensive line breakdowns, go watch Stevens. This one is generally about Herbert. Jason and I might talk about Lombardi in the future or whatever, and that obviously will be naturally brought up in this episode, but it's mostly going to focus on Justin Herbert. So we acknowledge that there are other things here that are preventing him from being perfect, including, some of the personnel issues. But right now, it's all Justin Herbert. So Jason, take it away. Your favorite quarterback from the 2020 draft.
Man.
Justin Herbert. Here we go.
We don't have to get in. We don't have to get into all that, man. All right.
Okay.
Jordan Love wouldn't have thrown 2 picks to them.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding. We're not getting into that.
Okay.
Right. So we're going to start with the interceptions here. We're going to get the really rough things out of the way, because we love watching interceptions. I mean, we should be used to it by now. We had Phillip Rivers as a quarterback. So
you're going for all the hits against Chargers fans today.
I am. Oh man, it's good to be back. I can't wait to see what people have to say about that. So here, what you're going to have is a simple 2 safety look. Generally, what you're looking for in a 2 safety look is you're looking for cover 2, whether it's man or zone, and you're looking for cover 4. And we're not going to focus too much on the other coverages right now. We're going to focus on the coverage they are in. There are certain things to do to figure out which of those coverages they're in. So right here, they're kind of showing cover 4, but they are going to bring the corners up and they're going to play some cover 2 here. And the route combination they're going to go with, I'm going to play it one time here. You're going to see a post wheel pattern, which is very common against a cover 2. Reason being is I'm sorry to show the interception. I know it's tough. Reason being is you want to force that safety to make a decision here. And I think Joe Lombardi, for a lot of the crap he's caught over the first 12 games, he actually called a pretty good game, which is interesting, because I've seen a lot of people who usually defend Joe Lombardi kind of turn on him this game, right? I've been kind of the opposite. I actually liked this call game by Joe Lombardi, because the situational play calling was fantastic. It was, if he saw a cover 3, he called the crossing routes. And generally he was dead on in knowing in what situation Denver would bring a cover 3 and in what situation they would bring a cover 2, and then put in the appropriate play call. So hats off to him for that. I think he called a great game. I think he could run the ball more, but we're not going to get into all that. So the post wheel, it's forcing this safety over here to make a decision. It's forcing him to pick between the post and the wheel. And what you're looking for here is you're looking for leverage, you're looking for levels, and we're going to get into what these mean, and then you're looking to release the football. And so first we're going to look at leverage. So on first look, these safeties are kind of playing a little tight, right? They're barely a hash marks apart, right? And so your first read is kind of going to be, all right, so it's probably going to be the wheel or the flat. But the first thing you're going to look for here is what the safety does at the start of the play. And the first step means a lot in determining where you're going to go with the ball as a quarterback. And so you're going to see right when the play is snapped, the safety's just going to backpedal. He's going to stay neutral. And this is kind of done intentionally because he is now reading, what are these two players doing? What are Jared Cook and Keenan Allen doing? He's going to pick between them in a second here. You're going to see. And what this does is it causes Justin Herbert to hesitate. He has to wait for the safety to make a decision, or he's going to have to move on to the second level. So this safety staying home, and this is where you miss speed here, because if you have some speed, I keep pointing to the screen like they can see, but with the speed here, you would force this safety to make a decision much quicker. And the Chargers just don't have that speed to force that safety into making a decision like at the snap of a finger, right? Which causes blown coverages or causes him to make a bad choice, and then you have a certain route open. And then it also causes Justin Herbert to have to take longer with that first read. So we're going to watch this safety here, and you're going to see right here, he takes that jab outside. And the second you see that jab outside, and you see Keenan Allen has this space here, this is your indication that you need to loose the football. So we're actually going to go back a little bit, and you're going to see the levels here, the levels I'm talking about. You see that safety back there at about the 5-yard line, and then you see the linebackers, slot corners, they're all in kind of a line there along the 15. And so this is what I'm talking about by levels. What levels are the defense at? And even more so than that, what levels are your routes in comparison? So right here, this should be a loose football. You need to throw this football pretty quick here because Justin Simmons made the decision to cover the wheel route, right? He made the decision to watch that wheel route first. And so at about this point right here, that needs to be a loose football. You have won the leverage game. And whether you throw it on a rope or whether you kind of add some touch to it and maybe you take the chances more that it's a 50-50 ball, I don't know about you. I'm taking those chances 9 times out of 10, especially with the receiving core you have. You're talking Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer. 2 of those 3 guys rely on 50-50 balls kind of a lot. And so you think he would be okay with releasing that ball there with touch, or if he throws it on a rope, that's almost a guaranteed catch to me if you put it right here. And that's not just to me, that's textbook quarterback 101, that you read leverage and base your throw off that leverage, right? We're going to move to the second level here. We've established that this was the correct read based off the first level of the defense, right? And that first level, you're looking at the 2 safeties, looking at what they do, and then based off what they gave you in the leverage game, this was the correct read for the play. But you can still save the play if the next 2 things go correctly. So, second level. Second level is generally this corner right here. And what you're going to look for here is the wheel route and the flat. So level 1, you're looking at the post and the wheel. Level 2, you're looking at the wheel and the flat. And see how it kind of layers right there. So first you're making the safety make the decision. You're forcing this safety to pick between post wheel. Now you're going to force Surtain to pick between the wheel and the flat. So we're going to move forward here. And it's pretty clear already. Now, note he's not looking at Surtain yet because he's still looking at that safety. Pretty clear here already. He's looking at the wheel. He's going to get depth in his cover 2 flat. And so this is closer to a match play where once a receiver goes into your zone, you're going to kind of travel with him. And if there's no receiver that goes through your zone at all, you're going to stay in the flat. It's funny that later on he goes to Eckler because here he should have gone to Eckler. And I'm going to show that play right after this. But Surtain goes with the wheel. Now, I'm going to talk about it later. When you mess up the first level of a read, you have the unfortunate problem where everybody can be covered because you missed the correct player. So in this case, they lucked out and they have Eckler wide open. And this is where the second level of the play fails. So your second level of the read failed. You have to look at Surtain here, and you have to make a decision of, is he staying with the flat? Is he staying with the wheel? If he goes with the flat, you're going to throw it on a rope to the wheel. If he goes with the wheel, deliver a nice easy throw to the flat. Live for the field goal. Play another down is what it is. In a perfect world, he throws the correct read off the get-go to Keenan Allen. Here, it's just not going to happen. This late in the play, especially now that he's scrambling, that's just a tough throw to make, especially across your body. This other corner on the other side can now make the play. He has the opportunity to make the play right here if he comes across. So now it's just too late. So now you have to make a decision between Cook and Eckler, and again, he makes the wrong read. So both levels of the read, he got wrong. Now Cook does get open here to where you can maybe throw him a catchable ball into the back corner of the end zone. Rewind it a bit so you can see. He does get behind Surtain, but only, and I've seen people point that out, the only reason that happens is because Surtain is playing the ball here. So if you rewind a little bit, you'll see Surtain is on him until this release happens, and then Surtain goes to play the ball as you should.
Good call.
So you could fit that into the corner of the end zone. Surtain's going to be on him. It's going to be a tough catch. You could do it. Like Justin Herbert's arm, I'm never going to doubt that he can do that. He put the ball in the wrong place here. If you're going to make this throw, which again, like I said, you can, it has to be in the corner right there. It has to be where only Jared Cook can catch it. Either way, it's the wrong read. You have to take the check down there once the corner vacates. So any questions based on that play, Tyler, for me to kind of expand upon?
No, not in particular, although it's kind of hard to tell from this angle on a Zoom share, but it feels like sometimes I'll catch Herbert looking one particular way, knowing that he's pretty sure one guy's going to get open, but he's looking that guy up as much as he can, and then he throws it and realizes it's completely the wrong play. Now, he didn't go to Allen in that situation, but it felt like based on his body language earlier in the play that he was looking at, I think, Williams for a half second to hope to hold somebody off. You'd have to go back. This is the first time we even watched these plays. So
look at it.
Feels like right.
It does look like a little bit later in the play, like about right here, he looks at Williams. About right there. Is that what you're talking about right there?
Yeah, there was a point where you had paused it perfectly. Never mind. I think you know what, you paused it at the moment he was scrambling and his body was slightly turned a certain way. Ignore my question.
Okay. Well, we are going to talk about it though, because the first point you made is that he can stare at a certain safety or a player and then immediately flip his hips,
right,
look to another player and make the throw expecting it to be open.
Right.
So that's kind of what you're looking at as your pre-snap recognition. If you're very confident that a play is going to be open, you'll look the safety off, and then you'll kind of see in your peripheral, okay, what is this corner going to do? And if the corner does what you think he's going to do, then you know you can flip your hips and make the throw.
Yeah.
And that gets him later. So that's a good point. That actually gets him later on the throw to Eckler, where Eckler actually was open.
Yeah.
But the way he flipped his hips and made the throw quick, they were not on the same page, right? And we're going to go into that play right now.
Yeah, because I feel like, I mean, he did an excellent job with the mirrored concept against the Vikings, where he was looking off someone and then got to right to Mike Williams, and it was great. Like that worked exactly how it should. You're talking about the
2 choice routes to Williams,
something like that. Yeah, it's been a while since I watched it, but yes, it was like, hey, that looks great, and he just looking somebody off and then right to Williams, boom, no problem.
Right.
And I feel like just sometimes on occasion, now he's not getting away with that, where for whatever reason, maybe it was a good decision pre-snap or something, but all of a sudden he throws it and it goes, oh crap. But anyway, you're about to show it, so I will be.
So when you get those better offensive or defensive coordinators, I apologize, you see different coverages on each side of the field. So a mirrored concept is really good for like a cover 3 or cover 2 where it's even. So you know what happens on this side is going to happen on that side. But based off where one player goes in the middle determines which side you're going to throw to. So for example, in a cover 2, if you see the middle hook that inside linebacker has, and you're looking left and you see him follow your eyes, you can immediately flip your hips back and deliver a throw to Allen. Him and Allen are always on the same page on that. It's really nice. Him and Williams have been getting on that page, which is really nice to see. We'd like to see that. So here is actually a similar coverage by Denver, but instead of kind of playing that match, that cover 2 match or cover 4 coverage, they're essentially the same thing. It's just different coverage. Instead of seeing that, you're actually going to see a traditional cover 2 here. And this is where he kind of messes up. So this is interesting to me right here, because he's going to get the same look from the same defense on the same exact route combo, same exact one. It's just instead of Eckler coming out of the backfield, you're seeing Eckler's chilling there already. The same route combo, you're going to see post wheel at the bottom of the screen. We're going to play through it, and you're going to see the safety again cheats outside. So here, the safety reaches the numbers. Keenan Allen is on the numbers. There's a certain saying when you're a quarterback, if the player's even, that's the throw you have to make, right? Especially if you have confidence in your receiver, which you absolutely should. But it gets even better than that, because it doesn't end up being even. It ends up being Allen is way inside of him, and Guyton on the other side too. So Herbert should immediately see that the middle of this field is wide open, which I'm sure a lot of people have noticed this by now, but New England, Baltimore, Minnesota, there were a lot of common themes here, which is they left the middle of the field pretty wide open on several occasions. And Herbert isn't taking it for whatever reason. I don't know if he got kind of spooked out of it early on in the season with maybe I was going to say maybe the pick to Trayvon Diggs. I don't know. That was kind of more outside. But something spooked him out of it, and he hasn't been taking those plays lately. But back to the safety. So remember the leverage I was talking about. At this point, your receiver has won the leverage game. And leverage was something I actually picked on Herbert about in the draft process. It was something I mentioned several times in the podcast. It was something he struggled to recognize. And when I watched this tape from his rookie year, it looked a lot better. He improved on that a lot. And when you're looking at the development of a quarterback, there are 3 things that I always look at, and that's progression, retention, and regression. And so he progressed his rookie year. He didn't retain that. He didn't retain what he had learned in reading leverages very well. He still has his moments, those flashes where he shows it really well. He hasn't showed it against the better defenses, which is interesting to me because he showed it really well against Dallas. So we're going to go through this. And you see here, again, like I mentioned, leverage. This is the point where he releases the football. And you can tell here that with the middle of this field, how these 2 routes are going, you can see where the ball should have gone. And that's what I'm saying here by leverage and levels. Because once you recognize the leverage of this safety goes outside and that you've won the leverage battle, especially over here, like, my God, with all that space there. But he's not looking that way. He's looking right. And you kind of know why, is because they see this play before where he throws the pick and, hey, we have something open right there. And it's for good reason too. There's a reason he ran so many post wheels, because that's the staple against cover 2. That's what you want to do. You want to fit one in between the corner and the safety, or you want to split the safeties. One of the 2. You want to do one of those 2 things. And so here, ideally, you split these safeties. That's the correct read once again. So we're going to acknowledge that he made the wrong read. So how can he fix it? So the way to fix this is move on to your next level and fix it with a correct read, right? And this time he actually does make the correct read. Okay, he sees that Surtain, again, is kind of following the wheel. And you can see it here, Surtain following the wheel. So that's showing you that your flat is now open. And at this point, from this hesitation and then to flipping his hips, and he actually delivers a decisive throw here. What I'm talking about by hesitation is the safety just holds him a little too long. That ball needs to be out right here as soon as Surtain flips his hips and goes around. Not flips his hips, but follows the wheel.
Right.
And it's not terrible timing. You're probably looking at a 5 to 6 yard gain. And a lot of people have said it'd be a 20-yard gain. maybe if Eckler makes a man miss, which I wouldn't put it past him. So
Sure.
could have been
Positive on first down, at least.
right. And anything would have been a better outcome than what happened.
Yeah.
But this isn't the wrong read. This is the
Mhm.
correct read right here for the second level. Again, I want to
Mhm.
reiterate that the second level is the correct read. The first level was wrong. This should have never happened in the first place, but we're moving to the second level. So at least you see, okay, last time I threw the pick when Surtain followed the wheel, this time I'm going to
Mhm.
take the safe answer. I'm going to throw the flat area here to
Yeah.
Eckler. So he progresses here, and they're just unfortunately not on the same page. It happens.
Yeah.
Eckler thought, okay, he's waited there for a second. Let me get myself more open. I see a lot of space in the middle there, so let me head over that way. And they're just not on the same. They're not on the same page here, because if this ball is put on Eckler right here, you can maybe see him squeeze through the middle, right where Keenan Allen is going, which would be,
Yeah.
again, first read. But
Mhm.
moved on from that. We acknowledged it, and it's just they're not on the same page. It happens. It's
Mhm.
not really on Herbert there. Not the second level portion of it anyway. He fixed his mistake. It's just you need to see him correct what happened wrong on the last interception, which
Right.
is this was open.
Mhm.
You have to be able to, and he was looking at the safety.
Yeah.
You can't dispute that he was looking at the safety there, because that's his first level of the read, especially on a post wheel combo. That is your first level. So that's safety right there. So it's a little concerning that Herbert didn't fix the same issue that he encountered before. That's where you'd like to
Mhm.
see progression, right? Or retention, retaining that information,
Mhm.
which is key in development of a quarterback. So a little concerning there in the development
Yeah.
aspect of Justin Herbert. You would like to see that better, but then, I mean, later in the same play, he does make this correct read in the second level. Just a little interesting there, a little interesting, kind of confusing when I watched through it.
Yeah. No, I acknowledge that the defenses are probably different at the time, but you see him fit a ball between three defenders against the Eagles, which again is a very vanilla defense.
He did it in
And then
this
he does
game.
it again. He did it again. Oh, it did great. Then he did it once against the Steelers as well. And as a guy who obviously trusts Keenan Allen and is, if sometimes if
Right.
nothing else, locked in on Keenan Allen, it's surprising that, especially after now acknowledging that his previous play or whatever that plays that was that you showed was incorrect, and then him finding the way to potentially have the correct option right there and take it, and then he doesn't. It's just very interesting and inconsistent. And it's just like you said, the three things that you want to look for there is like the one or two things that are always missing. Maybe he'll retain the information, but he doesn't exactly like implement it or whatever.
Right. And so it is concerning. And it makes me wonder if almost the game plan was avoid Justin Simmons.
Okay.
It could have been, which, I mean, he almost threw a pick to Justin Simmons and went right through Justin Simmons' hands. So
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that was the case, and then that happened, and they're like, hey, okay, let's never do that again. So
Yeah.
it could have been the case where they just said, hey, Justin, just don't throw to Justin Simmons, man. The other Justin won, unfortunately. So now we're gonna go to the near pick.
Okay.
And so we're gonna kind of watch through this one time. And so what I want to look at here is, again, just reading what the defenders are doing on the play. So again, two safeties, the bane of Justin Herbert, two safeties. Every time I see it in the game, I'm like, oh man, here we go. And here he just gets the read wrong. So he's kind of eyeing Mike Williams here. And if you're going to throw this ball, you have to throw it early to Mike. And you can already tell right here, there's a significant issue with this guy right here. And not that it was a great throw to begin with, because it's kind of behind Cook anyway, or behind Williams anyway. Apologize. Here, you probably have to take that flat, but there's two things wrong here. One, Mike Williams does not get a lot of depth in this crossing route, which you want to have depth in your crossing route. And here they actually take the two safety look and they adjust it to cover three. And it's more of a cover three match here is what they're doing, which means, again, when the receiver comes into your zone, you're going to fall. And Williams doesn't get a lot of depth here in his route. which causes a problem because this never had to be a situation to begin with. If Williams takes his route up here, and you're going to see, I'm going to show you right here, look at the difference between Mike Williams' crosser and Keenan Allen's crosser. And maybe that's not fair, right? Because one of these guys is a stud wide receiver and the other one is still learning how to run routes. I'm being nice.
I can hear it.
Keenan Allen does a really good job of not giving anybody at this level of the defense a chance to make a play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so frustrating that he doesn't look for Keenan here, because that is unreal. That's some unreal space right there. You don't, as an offensive coordinator, you see that and you just go, damn. You know, especially when it's a stud player like Keenan Allen. If it's like your wide receiver 5 or something like that, that's that open, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be honest, that wasn't a realistic possibility from the get-go. When it's your wide receiver 1 that gets that much space, dang. But I noticed the depth of the route, and here, Mike Williams just has to get more depth. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, Justin Herbert threw a bad ball there. Well, that is true, and it probably should have been an interception. That is also a lot on Mike Williams. You cannot run that route at that depth. You just can't do it, because it gives this player opportunity to make a play on 2 players. Right? So now Justin Simmons can make a play on 2 different routes. That's a huge problem, especially like that's like running a spacing route in between Derwin and James, right? It's like running a curl right here and a hitch right here for Derwin and James. It's like, well, Chargers fans would take that 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10. So that's a problem there. That's just a spacing issue by the receiver. And while, yes, you would like to see Herbert recognize that the flow of the defense setting towards that side of the field and flip his hips and get the ball to Allen, it wasn't the wrong read, because it's cover 3 there. You're making the right read. You're throwing to the crosser. It just, the route didn't have enough depth to it. So we're going to move on from that play now, unless you have any questions about it.
Nope.
All right. I didn't want your questions anyway. All right, so we're going to go to another cover 3 play here.
Okay.
And this is actually, again, does the route combo look familiar on the right side? Keenan Allen or Jared Cook? I think that's actually Jalen Guyton and Jared Cook.
Sometimes when they wear white, man, I just like, I don't know. I can tell who Keenan Allen is because he holds his hands closer to his hips when he's about to.
Right.
It's a thing I just noticed.
I just go by who's open, and I'm like, that's probably Keenan Allen.
That's one way to do it. If they're dropping it, it's probably not him.
So here's why you don't want to run a post wheel against the cover 3, is because every route is going to where a defender is designed to be in a cover 3. So you're going to see both posts are immediately gone against this cover 3. The second you see that safety go into the middle of the field, Justin Herbert's saying, crap. And so both his posts are gone. That's 2 routes automatically out of this play. It's a huge problem. And so now he's forced to take the flat. He does a great job here of taking the flat, because at cover 3, what you want to do, it's designed to get the outside curl flat zones are supposed to get depth. Okay, you want to get depth, and then you want to rally. We all know what a cover 3 is. We dealt with it way too much. So Herbert makes the right read here. He adjusts. He throws to Eckler. That's actually a good play. The only thing I would say is you want better ball placement here to allow Eckler room to run up the sideline. But he makes the right read here. And that's just me kind of showing Herbert has a lot better of a processor against cover 3 than he does against cover 2. He just feels a lot more comfortable with the cover 3.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's because he practiced against it for an entire year. So
yes, I imagine you would build your confidence throwing, Eckler versus Perryman a few times.
Probably, man. And so there's nothing he could have done better here. And actually, I want to talk about I believe this is Mike Williams at the bottom of the screen. I want to talk about this because it's actually kind of a good play by him. As much as I say he does not know how to get open, which I mean he doesn't here, but I'm gonna give him props. He sees that the safety is in the middle of the field, and he makes a conscious decision to stay outside, and he's looking for that's kind of funny. He's looking for a flag. I mean, good on you, Mike. But
hey, flags are good plays.
yeah, I mean, Mike's just out here playing soccer, so that's what I like to see. But good play by Justin Herbert there, recognizing, all right, this play is not going to get what I want it to be. I'm going to throw to Eckler here. So that is a good play by Justin Herbert. And I just wanted to show that play to kind of illustrate the difference between how he reacts against the cover 2 and how he reacts against the cover 3. While it wasn't a great play by any means, he recognized it and he took what the defense gave him. It's what you like to see. Just need better ball placement there to allow Eckler to turn upfield. Of course, he's kind of forced to hit him in the numbers because nobody's catching the football. So whatever.
Interesting that he's so comfortable against that. I believe before the Denver game, he was facing mostly, in terms of percentage, mostly cover 1 and cover 2. So it's interesting that he's just so comfortable with cover 3. But like you said, it could have been just he practiced against cover 3 every freaking practice last year. So
that might have been it. That could be it. So we're going to move to him scrambling here. And this is going to be another positive play. My God, the quality sucks. It'll get better towards the end of the play. I recorded it like 10 times, so I apologize.
Don't worry about it.
So here, we're going to play through this, and Justin Herbert does a great job of recognizing the hole in the defense and taking off. I don't have any knocks against this play other than maybe you could fit one into guy, right? Recognize the cover 2, the 2 safety look. The safety kind of cheats over here on this side. Whereas on this side, the safety staying outside. That would be my one critique. Fit a ball into one of these 2.
Yeah.
He did it really well against Dallas on a beautiful ball to Keenan Allen, putting it in between the corner and the safety. So at that point in the season, I thought, okay, he's good against cover 2, cover 3, whatever you throw at him, this guy's got it. Just not as confident anymore in throwing that ball. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but he's just not as confident in it anymore. But you can't really knock this play because he's just gonna take off here and get a pretty easy first down. So I'm not gonna knock it. That's actually a good read by him, understanding, okay, maybe the defense isn't what I thought it was gonna be. I'm gonna take what I can get. Keenan Allen appreciation moment, making this dude fall down. Yeah, we've grown accustomed to seeing that, and people act like it doesn't happen anymore, but I saw this like 3 times against Denver.
Yes.
So, man, Keenan Allen is still just killing it. And so maybe you'd like to see him remain consistent and throw that, but you can see 59 is kind of getting around. You see his pocket is kind of collapsing around the edges. So I see no fault here, but what he could have done better is fit one into the fade or just throw to Keenan Allen there. So
what's the correct balance between taking off? Like it gets a first down, I'm pretty sure, on that play. And
it does.
Great. Like you get a first down. That's great. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But what is the perfect balance between, because even against the Steelers, he took off 7-8 times. Then there were 3 or 4 where he had someone a little bit further, but you can't really knock him for like 10 yards. But at the same time, how do you balance that? Because he also has to develop here too as a passer.
So when you go into the film room, it's a good job on making this play, first of all. If the scramble wasn't there, here's what you could have done. But you don't knock him for it because he made a play. He created a play, which is what you want your quarterback to do. You want him to create a play. Now, there are certain cases where you see a busted coverage or whatever the case may be, and you're like, hey, that was your first read. You read it wrong. What happened here? That could have been a touchdown. That could have been 40 yards. Why'd you take the 13-yard gain instead? There are certain occasions where you do that, but for the most part, the balance is, did the quarterback make a play? And if he did, that's great. But there are certain occasions, like there, it's tight enough coverage where you're like, okay, well, I accept what just happened 100%.
Right.
Could he have thrown to the fade routes? Yeah. But fitting it between the corner and the safety is not exactly a guarantee. That's a high level throw, right? So that's not something you knock him for.
Right.
And then Keenan Allen getting open like that, it happened once Herbert kind of already made the decision, I'm going to take off. So
Right.
it just is what it is there. There's no knock on him from my perspective.
Okay.
Now I've praised Lombardi. Now we're going to knock him a bit.
Cool.
And you could probably already tell by the name of this clip.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
What I'm upset about.
Yeah.
And so we know that this third and I believe 15.
I think so. Yeah.
When this happened, that is not okay, especially since you look at who he's chipping. It's Rashawn Slater's player.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Why? I don't like it. You should never have this player run a check down ever. Ever. And that's another issue here is their personnel decisions and understanding what to do with that personnel is extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
Extremely frustrating. And what's frustrating about it is it's not just this coaching staff. It's been that way for a decade.
Yes.
And I was thinking about this earlier with Keenan Allen. It kind of changed. His entire play style changed back in 2014 when he played Richard Sherman. I don't know if you remember that game.
I remember the play.
And ever since that point, he kind of was taken away from, hey, this guy's going to run these crossing routes downfield and these posts and everything like that. And he's going to kind of turn into this underneath route runner. And which ended up changing the very next year. They decided, all right, well, that was a terrible idea. I think Keenan Allen only had like 800 yards that season.
Yep.
It was terrible. And so the very next season, they threw it to him like a ridiculous amount of times. He was on pace for like 165 receptions.
Stupid, yeah, something crazy.
1,800 yards. And those personnel decisions are happening right now, where you're seeing them utilize players incorrectly in certain areas.
Yeah.
I think Mike Williams is another case here where they turned him into the receiver that probably fits him more, but then they realized after those games that the timing routes to Mike Williams and such like that, they have a better player to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, yeah, while Mike Williams was great for that, they learned pretty quickly that, okay, well, Keenan Allen is now our downfield threat, and that's kind of an issue, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he was doing just fine. I think he had like 2 100-yard games in those first 4 games. They asked him to do that. But the personnel issues are a problem, and utilizing them incorrectly is a problem. And here is a major issue why. Not understanding what to do with these players. And I'm going to tell you why this play frustrated me so much. We're going to go to the very next play. 3rd and 15. Same game. And look who converts it. This was the drive before. The very drive before.
Yeah.
And so this is what really confused me. You go from drive to drive. And you're Joe Lombardi and you're thinking about this. You go from drive to drive, both 3rd and 15s. And in the previous drive, Keenan Allen converts a 3rd and 15 for a 24-yard gain, I think is what this was. And I don't understand the backtracking there. And, you know, I was talking about the development traits for a quarterback. It's kind of the same with an offensive coordinator. It's for any position on the football field, for any head coach. Doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
You're looking for progression, retention, and regression. There is no retention here at all. There is no retention here. This is straight regression. This is bad. This is the bottom of the scale. What the hell are you doing? Because the very previous drive, you take your best receiver and you send him down the field. And how many times have we seen that this season or any season where it's like 3rd and 18, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 15, and it's Keenan Allen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like one of our favorite things about Keenan Allen.
Yeah. No, he's been such a money guy for them on 3rd and longs, 4th downs. So it's surprising to see them take their best player out of the play, essentially. There's no chance that he's getting a 1st down here, barring, you know, facing Brandon Staley's defense and them giving up a 3rd and 20 almost to the Vikings.
Right.
But no chance that Allen actually makes this work.
what you're doing is you're limiting your first down chances to Jalen Guyton and Mike Williams, which is not ideal. Not ideal.
Right.
And I mean, Mike Williams has gotten better at finding that space. I think Mike Williams still needs to work a lot on learning when to sit when he finds space and learning where the coverage should take him. You saw that previous play I showed you where he followed the seam instead of running his post. That's a good play. But I would not trust Jalen Guyton and Mike Williams to get you a 3rd and 15 nearly as much as I would trust Keenan Allen to do it.
No,
so you're
not even
taking
close.
away your top target in one of your most dire situations, which doesn't make sense to me at all. It just doesn't. So
what are the odds they're banking on 23 just biting hard on Keenan Allen, and then Mike Williams can catch the ball right there or something? I mean, I guess he doesn't, obviously.
He almost does, but you can tell they've played this game before.
Oh yeah.
So, like, you can tell, like, hey, this is what they like to do on 3rd down. And so he kind of does. Can Herbert fit this ball in there? Can he? Maybe it's Justin Herbert. I mean, it's a strong arm, so maybe you can put a ball inside here, like right here, or put a ball. I wouldn't put a ball outside.
No.
Maybe you could put a ball inside right here, and it's a first down. That's not so much the point I'm making here.
Exactly. No, of course.
You're taking Keenan Allen, and they've done this a lot this season, which is frustrating. That you've made his depth of his route negative.
Yeah.
So that's a serious problem. But and they haven't really learned from it over the season either. I was about to say maybe they can learn from it. They haven't yet.
Right.
There's been a lot of short depths on Keenan Allen's routes this year, when he has clearly shown he needs that depth in his route, because that's where he's money. A lot of people don't realize when they watch Keenan Allen. Everybody just assumes it's the slants and the drags and the outs. And while he is great at that, it's posts and corners where this dude makes his money.
Oh yeah.
He is insane at running these post corners, these fade stops, whatever the case may be. Those intermediate to deep routes, he is insanely good at them still. And so it's a little frustrating to see these low depth of targets, especially when they have given him those opportunities this year, and he's played fantastic in utilizing those routes to it and adding it to his arsenal.
Yeah, I've always thought he was such an underrated contested catch guy too. I mean, he's basically underrated at everything at this point.
He really is.
Even his speed is underrated, but that's a whole different thing. What was I going to say?
He does wear lead boots though. So
yeah.
He's not as slow as people think.
No,
he's still like I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, they played, I think it was Washington. It might have been 3
Washington
years ago.
Against Norman.
Yeah, and he charted like 21 point something miles per hour. And I was like, damn.
Where's that been?
Yeah. So it's just about opportunities, the personnel opportunities that they're giving them. I don't agree with. But so that's my knock on Lombardi today versus when I gave him praise earlier for calling a great game. I still think their personnel decisions are extremely questionable.
Oh yeah, personnel decisions have been the talk of many issues on either side of the ball, including special teams, and whole other topic. Good stuff here for sure. Okay, so I guess my last question, and regarding this sort of thing and Keenan Allen's depth of target, I don't know how much you watched of 2020's tape. I certainly didn't. I know you were boot camping and moving and all these sorts of pandemicing, and
it's a rough time for me, man.
So I don't know if you're watching anything, but I believe Keenan Allen's average depth of target is actually like 1.5 yards higher this year. I don't know how much you watched last year. Was it pretty damn frustrating then for you to watch him be even a lower depth of target last year?
Last year sucked. Like that was some. There were certain cases where I wanted to cry, dude. Even watching that Jets game where he had a fantastic game, and they gave him like 5 throws behind the line of scrimmage, and I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, what is happening? This guy is killing New York down the field, and you keep giving him these like -2 yard routes.
Yeah, I
So
think he had like 18 catches for like 100 yards or something. It was so bad. It was like ridiculous.
it's so frustrating. So I'm really glad they've kind of picked it up this year. I still think they
Mhm.
need to do a much better job of it. And I think they have. Like I just showed you 3 routes where Keenan Allen's open 30, 40 yards down
Yep.
the field where
Mhm.
he needs those targets.
Yeah.
He needs Justin Herbert to throw that football. And so I
Mhm.
think Joe Lombardi, this is going to be controversial.
Okay.
I think this was his best called game as a Charger.
Okay.
I
All right.
honestly think it was. I think it was by far his best called game as a Charger. Not
All
by
right.
far. I think the Philadelphia game was fantastic, but
Yeah.
I just think it was Justin Herbert didn't capitalize, and
Mhm.
the offensive line was. We're not going to talk about this. Go watch Steven's video. um, I think Joe Lombardi called a great game, and I
Mhm.
think the opportunities were downfield for Keenan Allen, and so
They were.
I think it's gotten a lot better. And
Mhm.
you're right. Last year was terrible for Keenan Allen's. Like whatever. Anthony Lynn's gone. He can't hurt us anymore. Done deal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I guess the last thing I want to ask you before we, wrap things up,
Okay.
what are we missing here? When it comes, at least in terms of these very good defenses, what is missing on this offense? And maybe just outside of Justin Herbert, personnel, coordinator, calls, a left guard who doesn't give up 10 pressures. Like, what do you think could potentially, like, what is missing here? What can we do in an offseason to change this? Or what can we do this year to change it? Because things aren't going to get easier when we waltz. If the Chargers even make the postseason, but if they do, things aren't going to be all that easy. So how can this get better? Because Herbert has excellent games. The Steelers, it's not like they didn't try. They blitzed Herbert 16 times that game. Granted, the coverages were different and everything, but they tried to confuse, they tried to rotate, they tried to blitz him, and Herbert was on fire that game, basically. But then something like this, where things are open and it's Keenan Allen, and he likes Keenan Allen, God knows Justin Herbert loves Keenan Allen, is not getting there. So what is the best way to help Justin Herbert aside from what he can do? And there are things you pointed out. What is something that anyone on this team can do outside of actually catching a ball, actually blocking somebody? Outside of those things, their execution, what can they do to help Justin Herbert?
So this is like a 30-minute question, but I'm gonna simplify.
You have 10 seconds.
This is there's so many things that go into this. So I'm gonna hit on two of the reasons. There are two of the things that you can do. One is just go into the film room and review this stuff, and then run the same exact thing a week from now, right? And get his confidence up. Help him understand how to beat that cover two. Every time you see it, rep it in practice. Force him to throw these in practice where you're like, hey, throw that post. I don't care what the safety does. Throw the post. Get his confidence up, build it. It's a week-to-week thing. Happens in between games, right? And even in the games, you tell them this is what we're going to see right here. I'm going to need you to hit this, Justin. That's what you need to do with him. Number two is more of an off-season thing. What can you do to help Justin Herbert? So when you draft a player, I'm gonna give kind of like, this is off topic, but I'm gonna give the
You're
little bit of free
good,
chicken
man.
here.
Haven't talked to you in a while, so have at it. The floor is yours.
So when you draft a player, there's a lot that determines what this player can do, right? I've always said the number one thing to look for in a prospect is development. But it's also, if you're Tom Telesco, you're looking at traits to find in these players.
Right.
And there are a lot of traits and determining factors that will decide whether or not this player is good or whether this player is bad, whether this player is average, so on and so forth. When you take a player and you look at the traits that he provides, do these traits mesh well? Do these traits mesh well with the traits of the person next to him, with the traits of the quarterback throwing to him, with the traits of the offensive line that are blocking for the quarterback throwing to him? How is your offensive line? Do they sustain blocks for a long time, or are they powerful at the initial point of the blocks? What kind of team are you building? This is a first-year coaching staff. If they have found out what they're building by now, they are not there yet. They need time, and they have 10 draft picks to do it this offseason. So this offseason, I know I hate when people say this, so I know other people hate when people say this, but that next year is the year you want to go all in.
It really is.
It is because you have, and there's a reason they didn't make any trades. Is because they have 10 draft picks for a reason. It's because they want to build the team with the traits that they want, with the kind of players they want. They want to find their identity this season, and they're going to find it. They're going to, whether or not it all comes together right now against the Bengals, whatever the case, they're going to find it, and they're going to preach this offseason what their goal is, and they're going to go out and find these players, and they're going to find the traits that they want in receivers, that they want in running backs, that they want in their linebackers, that they want in their edge players, their interior defensive line, the entire defense really. But they're going to find what they want to do for Justin Herbert. And so to answer your question, what can they do for him? Understand what he does well as a quarterback and capitalize on it. And I think they made a big mistake.
I was going to get to where you're about to go. Yes.
A very big mistake in a certain player.
Yes.
And not understanding that his traits just matched up with Justin Herbert's. It's Tyrone Johnson. So we're gonna.
Yes.
It's Tyrone Johnson, everybody.
Yes.
And so.
You mean the receiver that caught everything, led the team in yards per route run, had no drops, had a 156 passer rating for Justin Herbert, all those deep shots, you remember? You mean, and the guy who slaughtered Staley's defense in training camp? That guy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Bitter since day one about that, bitter to now. Clearly a big issue.
It's extremely upsetting. And it comes back to personnel. And I don't think they understood at that point what kind of traits they wanted from their guys, and they're learning right now. And so hopefully that's a learning experience, and they go into next draft and they're like, all right, let's pull the trigger on the best receiver we can find that matches exactly what Tyrone Johnson was. That's just So maybe they do that. Maybe they learn from it, or maybe they'll be stubborn about it. Who knows? And a lot of people have countered with, oh well, Tyrone Johnson hasn't done anything against Jacksonville Jaguars or on the Jacksonville Jaguars. He hasn't done anything on the Oakland Raiders yet. Again, it brings me back to my point where traits don't just make one player. It's the traits of the players around him. It's the traits of the quarterback. It's the traits of the guys blocking for the quarterback. It's what meshes well between these two players. And Justin Herbert and Tyrone Johnson, they mesh together traits-wise extremely well. On paper, on film, whatever you're looking at, those two fit like a glove. And so extremely disappointed that happened, but it's just me saying, once again, there are certain things they can do this offseason to help Justin Herbert. And that's one of them, is understanding their personnel more and what personnel they need for Justin.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they can pull it off, and I think they can. Well, Jason, this was awesome. You had a great set of plays here, some of the good, some of the bad, mostly bad, but things we can look forward to, things they could improve on. So I really appreciate it, man. Hope everything's going well for you. Everybody who's listening, please reach out to Jason, say thank you for all of this. This is great. I was so booked this week. There's no chance I was doing this, and there's no way I would have done any better. So Jason, I really appreciate it, man. What are you up to these days before I let you go? Let everybody kind of know.
These days I'm living in Oahu in Hawaii, and just working hard every day, man. And I'm just barely getting comfortable with my new life, that I'm able to dive back into true Chargers football, getting back into understanding the game at the level that I am comfortable with because at first when I got back, I wasn't really comfortable with it because I wasn't fully knowledgeable on this Chargers team. Now that I'm back to where I like to be, now I'm okay with it. And so I'm hoping to get a lot more back into it. So you guys are going to see a lot more of me in the coming weeks, especially getting back into that draft process. I'm back in it, back here.
Yeah, good stuff. No, I can't wait. You got you and Steven obsessed madly over the draft. It ended up being a competition. It felt like, not really, but it kind of felt like it was one. You guys had like 250 to 300 prospects. I did like horrible. 5 prospects. So yeah, but you guys went to running back 42, quarterback 67. None of it ended up mattering, but I applaud you guys for doing it. And you guys worked your asses off. So anyway, thank you very much as always for
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, of course. We're definitely going to collaborate again at some point. I hope maybe in the future I'll try to not just let you do all the work for 45 minutes.
All right, man. It sounds good.
But all right, sounds good, man. All right, take care. Guys, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, whatever you got to do. And as always, bolt up.
Bolt up.